Well,
Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
She said that very shyly. Hi, hello.
Give it 20 minutes.
Yeah, give her 20 minutes and she'll have a go at us again. We always welcome our guests like this. We're very kind to them. We're very, very kind.
Right.
So, Nikki, you're a third-year PhD student at Keele.
Yeah, that's right.
And do you know Rob Jeffries?
I do indeed.
Yeah, he's a listener to Astro Radio as well. He's been on a few times himself, and sometimes chooses some music for us as well. So, what we do with the idea of the guests coming on to Astro Radio, on to Reach Out and Touch Base, is kind of meet the person. So, first of all, I'm going to ask you a few questions about yourself. How did you get started in the subject of astronomy? What inspired you to get started?
Well, when I was quite young, I was quite enamored by all things space. So I loved planets, I loved stars. When I was in primary school, one of the parents brought on a telescope and we got to look at Saturn, which was really, really cool. So I've always loved space, I've always loved astronomy. And I really enjoyed maths and physics at school. Eventually going on to study physics at university.
So Saturn, obviously, I mean, I think we can all say that Saturn has always been, our first sight of Saturn through a telescope is the thing that kind of inspires you. Saturn or the moon, and I think most people, when they say, well, how did you start? What was the first object you looked at? It's usually the moon or it's Saturn. And I'm no exception to that. I mean, Saturn was one of the first things I saw, one of my first telescopes that I built. I saw Saturn, and that led me on to where I am now. So this you're studying eclipsing binaries. Can you explain to the listener what an eclipsing binary is? Because a lot of our listeners are beginners and they're starting out in astronomy, and they sometimes don't understand the terminology. Yeah,
that's absolutely fine. So eclipsing binary stars. So a number of stars, probably more than half of the stars that we know of, are in binaries. And when you get two stars in a binary, they orbit each other in an ellipse. Sorry. And depending on how you look at the binary system, you can either look at it face on, so you see the stars going around in a circle when you look at them, or you look at it edge on. So then you have the stars passing in front of each other and blocking the light out. So when you monitor the brightness of this star over time, you get a dip in brightness as one star passes in front of the other and blocks out the light. And then you get the same again when the second star blocks out the first.
One thing I was going to add is if you've got an eclipsing binary, can sometimes these eclipsing binaries can exoplanets be mistaken for eclipsing binaries, or vice versa? Would that happen?
So when people are looking for exoplanets, they're looking for these same dips in brightness of the stars, but they expect these dips of brightness to be a lot smaller because planets are a lot smaller than stars. So at most, you're looking for a 1% dimming of the light. But with eclipsing binaries, we know the stars are a lot bigger. So when we see these eclipses, we see them maybe 30, 40, 50% of the light is blocked out by these stars. So in these searches for planets, a lot of the candidates that then get thrown out are eclipsing binary stars.
Oh, there we go. See, you learn something new every day. The other thing is exoplanets. Do you do any exoplanet research yourself?
Not directly at the moment, no. But I am part of the European Space Agency Plato missions science consortium. But specifically looking at the stars, because in order to understand the planets that people find, you need to understand the host star.
Yeah, so Keele University, where you're doing your studying, are you at Keele? Are you local to Keele, or have you come from another part of the country?
No, not local to Keele at all.
No.
Born in Scotland, grew up in Sussex, and then went to university at Warwick.
So have you done any work down at Hermannsau Observatory?
No, I haven't. I did visit once, actually.
I find that a great observatory down there to visit. And the fact, I'll tell you a little story about that. We went to do Kath was with me at the time. And I think if you remember, if you can remember your visit, the floor in one of the observatories goes up and down. And they were showing people through telescopes, and one lad came running out the telescope, and went, "Don't go in there," because there was a queue. He says the floor goes up, it's a trap. that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. So Keele University, you've got an observatory there. Do you use the observatory there for your research, or are you getting your data from telescopes based around the world?
So for my research, I don't use Keele Observatory. What I do use is I use a lot of archive data. So lots of surveys have been out there already. For example, the TESS satellite is NASA's big hunt for planets at the moment, and they have absolutely beautiful data that I use. We also use data from infrared surveys, ultraviolet surveys, and I also sometimes use data from other telescopes as well. So for example, if we want to look at a binary star in different colored filters, the TESS satellite only looks in a broadband. We want these specific filters, so maybe we want to know more about the blue part of the star. So yeah, we use different telescopes for that.
Excellent. And also you're involved with the International Astronomical Youth Camp. Can you tell us a little bit about more about that? That's quite interesting. In fact, the first time I'd heard of this was when I read your profile, and I thought, I've not heard of this before. Why haven't I heard of this before?
So the International Astronomical Youth Camp, or IAYC for short, it's a 3-week-long summer camp. And it's for 16 to 25-year-olds that are interested in astronomy or related studies. So what they do is they work in small groups on independent research projects. You make friends from all around the world. Usually we have at least 20 or 30 different nationalities taking part. And of course, we enjoy some of the darkest skies in Europe.
That's probably something why age up to 25 years old, that's probably why I haven't heard of it. Yeah, international astronomy. We better start advertising this a little bit more on Astro Radio, because like I say, it was new to me today, and I think it was new to a few other people as well. And what sort of activities do you undertake there? Do you learn how to use telescopes? Do you learn how to do astrophotography, that kind of thing?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, depending on what you're interested in. So we have working groups, so groups of about 8 to 10 participants plus one leader on different themes. So some of the themes that we've had in the past have been sort of observing-based groups, astrophotography groups. Groups have built rockets, they've built electronics, they've built a radio telescope before. We've got programming focus groups that work on data analysis. We've had particle physics groups. We've had groups that work on literature and sci-fi and philosophy and psychology, astrobiology. Like, there are so many different groups because we have so many different skills and interests.
And you say that people come from all around the world to this?
Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant. Did you? Anybody else heard of this? Simon has. See, Simon, but Simon's in the know about everything. Actually, he's the go-to person when you need to know anything. Simon's from Bath Astronomers down, and they meet at the Herschel Museum in Bath. Moving on from that, I understand now. I didn't know this, but Dave was telling me that you're also a bit of a singer. Not that we're going to ask you to sing. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Well,
we all like
musician.
singing, don't we? We're all singers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I play the clarinet and the piano and the ukulele. They're my main things. But you know, if you want to sing along with when you play the ukulele or the guitar, then it just makes it more fun.
So right. What's your area in music? What sort of music do you love?
To listen to or to play?
Well, both really. Yeah, go to both.
Well, to listen to at the moment, I'm quite into sort of folk and acoustic with just sort of a bit of everything, really. I don't really limit myself to particular genres.
I mean, go on. That's all right. Carry on.
Okay. Well, playing on the clarinet, I'm a jazz clarinetist. So I do love a bit of Benny Goodman. On the piano, a bit of Chopin. And on the ukulele, love the old folk classics.
I mean, a little bird tells me that you like the Verve and The Drugs Don't Work.
All right.
Is that correct, Nikki, or not? Because I might be that little bird. Is that incorrect?
That is correct.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm glad that was right, because I've got it in the playlist as the next song. Being as you like it.
This is homework for you. I did my homework.
But it's amazing how many astronomers we find that are also musicians, and that's one of my area that I talk about a lot is astronomers and musicians. Yeah. It's my thing, really. So it is interesting to find how many astronomers, when we do talk to them, actually play an instrument as well and are quite into their music. What I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to let the rest of the panel ask you a few questions. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, folks. Away you go.
Thank you, Nikki. We'll be very gentle. We're not harsh. We're very nice people, really are. There was me that I looked at your bio and it said that you liked one of your favourite tracks was the Verve, the Drugs Don't Work. It's one of mine as well, and it's a strange song, really, isn't it? It's not the happiest of songs, but I always remember when it came out, I thought, it does hit. It's a very strange song, but the instruments that you can play out. I'm trying to think. What did you use? Was you on piano, playing that by piano, or what instrument would you choose?
I can't remember how. So I did record a cover of it a while ago.
Yeah.
But I've actually forgotten what I used in it.
That's okay. I think you were on piano because I was reading about you like doing some composition as well, composition work.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I think maybe I played it on the guitar a bit as well.
I'll have a listen to it again. It's okay. Well, Ron is our musician. I'd say Ron's our resident panel musician. And
well, I think
you play many instruments, Ron.
I think what he's saying, because I'm a heavy metal bassist, I think what he's saying is you're a musician. I'm a plonker.
You just make noise that goes up to 11. Ron usually hovers around the 2 to 3 mark on the volume indicator.
Yeah, I play a mixture of things. I play cello, various types of sax, and a Renaissance instrument called the viola da gamba. But I also recently gone to the dark side, and I've started playing electric bass.
Ooh, electric bass, Ron.
Yeah, so it's a slippery slope.
And where you'll end up. You'll end up like him down there.
Yeah. I'm most experienced as a choral singer, but that's what I've done most of. But not at the moment.
Just coming back to the other subject, astronomy. What I was going to ask, Nikki, is what is the closest eclipsing binary you have to our system? What's the closest eclipsing binary to the Earth, let's say?
I don't know off the top of my head. I only study a handful of systems. And I don't really have the distance on the top of my head, I'm afraid.
Is there a particular aspect of variable stars that you specialize in, or is it just general?
So what I specifically do in my PhD is I measure the temperatures of eclipsing binaries to new levels of accuracy and precision. So usually when people measure the temperature of a star, well, obviously you can't go there and stick a thermometer in it, can you? They tend to use spectra. So you gather all the light in the different wavelengths and you see the different fingerprints of all the elements, and you can measure the properties of these sort of fingerprints. And from that, you can get the temperature. Unfortunately, a lot of those temperatures tend to be relying on some kind of calibration or a bit of a model bias there going on.
Yeah.
So what is really, really needed is a bunch of stars that have temperatures that have been measured without having to rely on models so heavily. And the best way to do that is using something called the Stefan Boltzmann law. which connects the total energy radiated by a star, the size of the star, and its temperature. So with eclipsing binaries, when you look at the eclipses, you can work out how big the star is. So that's one thing sorted. And then if you measure how much light you get from the star in all of the different colors, that's the energy sorted.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you can, from there, you can get the temperature. Obviously, there's a lot more to it that I won't go into now. But essentially, we've worked out some temperatures for some stars in a really well-studied eclipsing binary. Normally, we'd be expecting temperatures to an accuracy of about 50 degrees either side, maybe up to 100.
Wow,
we managed to get down to 22 and 16 degrees.
That's amazing. That is some accuracy.
Yeah.
It really is. My goodness me. So with variable stars, I mean, presumably, if we're talking about not eclipsing binaries, but Cepheid variables and stars that pulsate, is their temperature always going to be about the same? Is there a pattern? I mean, I suppose it depends on the size of the star, really, doesn't it, and its mass?
It does, yeah.
Because I just wondered whether there was some clearly defined relationship there between, for example, the periodicity of the pulsation and the temperature of the star. It's one of those things that you find often in astronomy, isn't it? That you get these linear relationships that sort of really leap out.
Yeah, you do tend to get some relations. I can't say for sure regarding Cepheids, but
one of the things that I seem to remember about eclipsing binaries is that the actual shape of the light curve helps a lot with diagnostics of the nature of the system. So I seem to remember, for example, that if the curve is continuously varying, then that indicates that you're dealing with a very close system, and what you're seeing is a constantly changing surface area presented to you. Is there more info we can get out of the light curve?
Yeah, so that's one big obvious feature. As you get to the system, the sort of systems that I study are very detached. So you get two very crisp and clear eclipses, and outside of the eclipse, it's basically flat. Now, depending on the type of stars that you have in the binary, maybe one of the stars is a pulsator. So you get some little pulsations in the light curve there, which are quite cool. You can have a look at the depth and the width of the eclipses as well. These both tell you a lot of things about the geometry of the system, so where everything is and how big each star is. But in order to work out the mass, you do need some extra information.
Right.
I was thinking, Rod, going back to when we first started in the Liverpool Astronomical Society back in the 70s. I think I started around 75, 76, or seems a long time ago now. But one of the subjects that was popular in them days was observing variable stars by amateurs. I never got into it because I didn't think it was that exciting, to be honest. It was not really doing anything for me. And it was just a star that would go bright, it would go faint. I think the furthest I got was observing Algol, or Beta Persei. That was an eclipsing binary. I think that's the one that most beginners will try and do. It's a short period, over a week or so. You'll see the variability in it, and it's predictable as well, which is the great thing. The British Astronomical Association, in their handbook, always give the time for the minimum of Algol. And I learned that's what it meant, was when it was at its faintest. That was the time to start getting your little graph. And the idea was that you would observe the star with a telescope or binoculars, and you would look at the field stars, and you would compare the brightness of that star against stars that are in the close vicinity. You would then plot its magnitude, its brightness, on your graph. And then over a period of time, you would find that it changes in brightness. It would start increasing in brightness it would stay bright for so long, and then it would dip down again. Occasionally, I think it had a little blip where it increased slightly and then drop down again. And there was this odd little piece in these graphs that always fascinated me. But it was not something that I really got into, as I say. That was as far. 1978, I went down to, I'm going to say Ilsbarton. That's stuck in my mind. And I sat in this one-day course the British Astronomical Association, the variable star section, and I've got to be honest, I was bored stiff. I was so tired, having travelled down there with a group of other people. Some of you might remember some of them, and it was just a long day, and it was just numbers and graphs. There was no dynamic. There was nothing for me to actually see instantly. That's something that you do as an observer, I think. But over the decades, as my interest grew, as my knowledge increased, I realized stars are amazing. They're not little dots. And yeah, okay, they go bright and they go faint, but they change their variability for a reason. And when I realized it is a star going around this other star, and it's just a line of sight, it's just by sheer luck that we see this line of sight effect, because if we were slightly higher or lower in our orbits, we wouldn't see this. And it's like standing in that lighthouse beam if you're on the edge of a coastline of your country, and you get that beam of light, it shines in your face, and you're seeing this starlight coming for all that distance and changing because another star is going around it because it's in orbit. And you may have a triple star system. That just adds to the fun, I think, But variable stars can be interesting, and they are different sizes and different temperatures and different ages. And for the amateur astronomer getting into the variable stars, it's no longer that boring thing. And now you can do it more accurately. You can use CCD cameras, and you can measure how bright those photons are.
I think
it's sort of related to that. By the same token, we've discovered some 4,000 exoplanets. Do you think how many exoplanets we're missing because they're face onto us rather than edge onto us? It must be a huge number,
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Nikki? These planets that we can't see, because we were detecting 1,000 plus, aren't we? I can't remember what the last count was. Over 1,000.
No, it's over 4,000.
Over 4,000 now.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. These are planets around other star systems, not our solar system, way out there.
It's incredible.
It's literally alien planets.
Yeah.
Imagine what that must be like to go and look at another star system and see planets in orbit. We get excited by looking at Jupiter and its moons, or we fly out to Pluto, which is not a planet, but really is a planet, Peter. We know. I've just woken Peter up there. Pluto is a planet, Peter. I'm just saying. Never mind what everyone says.
It was a planet when he bought his phone.
It says on his phone, Pluto is a planet. I think, Nikki, Peter has a very old phone. It's actually embedded in rock. It's a fossilized phone. We're all going to chip in at Christmas and buy him a new one.
I think just shutting you up, you horrible people. I think a lot of people got interested in stars more when non-astronomers were getting interested in stars and why they dim and why they don't. When Betelgeuse started to dim last year, and a load of people were coming to me and saying, why is that star in the top of Orion dimmer than it usually is? Because that was visibly noticeable, and it drew a lot of people's attention, and I think that probably moved a lot of people into variable star observing. And I know particularly there's a couple of guys locally here who were like yourself, who say, oh, variable stars is boring. But after Betelgeuse dimmed, they started to look at other reasons why stars dimmed. And obviously with Nikki's research with the eclipsing binaries, people started to understand what was actually going on, and realizing a star just isn't a dot in the sky. There is actually something going on there, and there's something interesting going on there. So I think, events like that do bring people into it. My pet hate is this meteor detecting with these little radio aerials.
Exciting, Peter. It's exciting.
I went to watch somebody do that once, and for 10 minutes, it was 10 minutes of my life I'm never going to get back. Ever. But
okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, that more and more people are starting to take notice of variable stars that didn't before that event. But what particularly drew your interest, Nikki, to variable stars? Why was that something that you wanted to research, or is it other people convince you to go down that path? I don't know. Why did you find that a subject that you wanted to really do your research on?
Well, my first love of research was exoplanets. So I did my master's project on the evaporation of exoplanet atmospheres. So when some stars have a lot of magnetic stuff going along, the stars can be quite active and give off lots of different jets of matter and can really affect the atmosphere of the planets that go around them. So like whenever we have a solar flare that's a big one, people get a bit worried about the satellites, etc. Yeah. But if you have a solar flare that's so big that it can wipe out your atmosphere, obviously that's a bit of an issue. So in my master's project, I looked at some potential planets that had that going on with their star, looking specifically at the X-ray emission of the star. So I thought that was really cool. And I really liked the combination of planet and star in my research, which was something that sort of started me down the path towards specifically eclipsing binary stars. The thing I like about eclipsing binary stars is that they are like exoplanets when you're looking for them, but a lot easier to find, and you get a lot better measurements out of it. I think I've always thought that both planets and stars are really cool, and I really like working with the stars and eclipsing binaries because there's so much that they can tell you.
I mean, I remember when I can't remember the year, but I remember when the first exoplanet was discovered, and personally, I was very excited about that, because Patrick Moore had gone on for years about, there's got to be planets around other stars, and other astronomers, some of astronomers at the time say, maybe not, maybe we're unique. And then when they discovered an exoplanet, I was so excited that they'd actually discovered a planet around another star. And of course, then, with the research now and the probes that are available, Kepler, etc., the floodgates opened, and it is now, commonplace. But then it was, what, a planet round another star. And I go and get excited, at the time I was playing music professionally at that point with rock bands and stuff. And I'd be going, in the dressing room, they'd be going, hey man, and I'd be going, they've discovered a planet around another star, and they'd just look at me and go, yeah, right, okay. But I was so excited that they'd done that. And I think that is, to be involved in that research is absolutely fantastic. And one day we will, like I say, discover Earth 2, maybe. And then hopefully go on to discover life elsewhere. I mean, we're still struggling to discover it here, I think.
Intelligent life, yeah.
Intelligent life, that is, at the moment, but in some places. So I just find the whole subject of exoplanets really, really exciting. And I've actually gone into schools and I've been teaching kids how to use, like we use the fork system, and where I'm a consultant on, and the NSO. And we use those systems. And I'm teaching kids how to take images of the stars and look for these dips. And hopefully one day I might get some school come back to me and say, we've discovered an exoplanet. They may not. I hope they do. But, the fact that school children can now have a go at that, it's amazing because of the telescopes and information that's available to them.
It's really cool. Yeah, I won't tell you how old I was when the 151 Peg B was discovered.
Go on, say it.
You told us when we saw our eclipse.
Yeah, how old were you, Nikki, when we saw the 99 eclipse? How old were you?
I was 3.
There we go again.
Ages.
But jumping back to planets, just before the coronavirus happened, I was observing with the very telescope that 51 Peg B was discovered with.
Wow.
Which was really cool.
That was really cool. I have to say, that's exceptionally cool. Yeah. I mean, I can remember well before I was born before they actually put a space probe into space. Sputnik hadn't even been up. when I was born. So
wasn't 51 Peg? I think the first one, it's orbiting a neutron star, isn't it? If I remember rightly. And they said that no, this can't possibly be an exoplanet. It's gone through a supernova, so it can't possibly exist. And yet it does. And I don't think anybody still understands that.
Death Star metal.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in case anybody's interested, the Sky at Night has done 7 programs on variable stars in its history. The first on October the 7th, 1969. So just thought I'd throw that in.
I remember the 1969 one. That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Just after the moon landings. Just before you bought your phone.
Yes.
Probably. Okay. Can I ask Roger? You've got a big badge on the end on your poster there with the Pleiades. What's that badge you got there?
I've been wondering that. Yeah. Is it I have seen the Pleiades and lived or something like that?
I think so. Yeah.
I survived the Pleiades.
Yeah.
And lived.
Now, it's one of the courses that the Open University do for free.
Really?
And you can do it at home. And during the latter part of the course, you get to use their one of their telescopes that they've got on Tenerife on the Tidy Mountain. And you get to put anything you want to go and study and photograph, but they also want you to measure some variable stars. So you can put some coursework in on there as well. And I've got a matter of all the weeks there. It's a 8-week course, although you don't have to take 8 weeks to do it. I did it in about 3 because I didn't have anything else better to do. And you get after 4 weeks, you do a quiz, and then it's towards your exam results, as is the final part. And then if you get enough points overall, you get certified. And then you can, if you wish, you can carry on with other courses.
I was going to make a joke there, but I'm not going to go on about anyone being certified.
And it's very interesting. I mean, it brought back my basic knowledge of astronomy, physics, and everything else. So obviously, variable stars are part of that. It's week 7 of the 8-week course, so all worth mentioning. And it's quite a sort of reviser of what we've learned many years ago.
Yeah, the other question I've got is eclipsing binaries, or binaries in general. What about planetary systems within binary systems? What do you feel about that?
They exist.
They do exist.
They do exist, and there is an active hunt for them.
That's an interesting. You're trying to imagine how the planet is. The planet orbiting one star? Is it orbiting both? Is it on a different? How would this work?
Would there not be a common center of gravity for the? It's like the Barry center of the Earth and Moon, and two stars would have a common mass, wouldn't they? A Barry center as such. So how? Yeah, with a triple star system, how would that work? And the gravitational effect on any planets that are in that solar system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you, Nikki? Do you actually study any other than binaries? Any multiple star systems? Can you use your research to study those as well? Say 3 or maybe even 4 suns, all in double binaries or in sort of things.
So personally, with my research, we've got enough regular binary stars to keep us busy for many years. As you start to get into triple systems and sort of 4-star, 5-star, 6-star systems, it does get a little bit more messy. These systems are very interesting in their own right. And there is definitely work going on in those as well.
Yeah, will you be using the Gaia data at all that's being dumped onto the scientific world? Because there's years of research there for you, see?
Yeah, Gaia is brilliant. Gaia is absolutely brilliant. So Gaia is mapping billions of stars and their positions so that we can measure the distance to them. And it's just dumped its early 3rd data release back in December, which we've been using for my research. And thousands of astronomers use Gaia in their research. It's a brilliant resource, and the full 3rd the data release that's coming hopefully within the next year or 2 that's going to be an absolute game changer.
Yeah, because I mean the discoveries they've made already and what they've been able to clarify and things like that's been absolutely amazing. It's exciting times with this, or just sort of like these massive dumps of data. And as I said, it's going to be decades, if not centuries, of data that people are going to be able to play through and discover new things. So, do you think we'll find dark matter?
Oh,
Put you on the spot.
well, I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll explain a lot, hopefully.
Yeah,
It's out there. Whatever it is, it's out there.
I know.
Well, thanks for that, Nick.
Something's out there.
We had that from the guy from CERN, didn't we? He said a singularity is something that he says we just call it a singularity because we don't know what it is. He said, and dark matter is just something we can say, well, we don't know what it is, so we'll call it dark matter and dark energy, and so on. Coming back to the camp, the International Astronomy Youth Camp. The leaders that you have at these events, where do you select these leaders from? Are they people that apply, or are they people that are already on the program?
So all of the current leaders were participants once. So I first attended as a participant when I was 18, and I became a leader after I attended about 4 times. So everyone who organizes the camp knows it in and out, and they absolutely love it.
So if people are going to come to this camp, how is it this funded? Are they sponsored? Is it a free camp for applicants? How does it work?
So we do have a participation fee. Back in 2020, we set it at €870, which for 3 weeks, full accommodation, full board, everything included, is quite reasonable. But for those people who can't afford that, we do have quite a comprehensive grant program. So people can apply from anything from €100 up to almost the full participation fee. And we do have a couple of sponsors as well that put money towards the grant program, and quite a reasonable alumni fund as well.
And does this take place in the same place every year, or do you move about to different places?
No, we move all over the place, depending on which languages we currently have in the leader team. So recently we've been to Germany, we've been to the UK, down in Somerset. We've been to Spain, we've been to Austria. Quite a few years ago, we were in the Czech Republic.
What would you say is your favourite country that you've done this in?
I really like the camp house in Germany. It's a youth hostel in the middle of the forest in East Germany. It's quite dark. And it's a beautiful place. We have the hostel to ourselves. And it's got like a huge activity hall. We've got a lovely field to bring out all the telescopes onto. There's loads of rooms, loads of social spaces. It's just a really nice place and a really nice atmosphere.
And I think the Germans have got a good eye to light pollution problems as well. They tend to deal with it pretty well. I've done quite a lot of observing in Germany. I remember once I was out with this guy with huskies in this forest. This was in the Black Forest, so it was in West Germany as such. And it was really snowy. And he put me in this suit, which was like electric suit. And very thick, and you could like stand me up in the snow while you went off with the huskies. But I remember it being so dark I couldn't work out where the constellations were. It was just stars. It was amazing. And this moose thing came walking past me, looked at me, put its lip up as if to say, "What are you doing here?" and strolled on. And it was just such a surreal experience. But I do love going to Germany to observe. I have to say, it is probably, if I had to say what's my favourite country to observe, and it would be Germany, definitely.
Pete, I took some people out to see the stars a couple of years ago here, up to the top of a reasonably tall mountain, and it was really dark. And the light of the headlights were going up this winding road through the forest up the mountain. Thinking, "Oh, this is beautiful, isn't it?" And then suddenly a wild boar jumped out in front of the car. An absolutely massive boar, which is how I've been described, actually. And And it just stood there and it wouldn't move, and it just stood there forever. And I said, look, I want to go and watch the stars, that we have to get rid of this wild boar. And we tried shouting at it, and it just stood there staring at us, completely unafraid. And it must have taken 15, 20 minutes before it just sidled off into the forest, followed by 3 younger ones. It was absolutely amazing. So you do.
I think what it is, Andy, it's a moose thing. You are in their territory, not in
No,
yours.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, Germany, Peter, we've mentioned this before, driving down to the Black Forest, the Schwarzwälder, many years ago, and driving through a forest area, headlights on. I was asleep in the back of the car. The driver, Paul, was driving at the time, and he slammed the brakes on. I woke up in the back seat, and I looked through the front windscreen, and there's this moose, the huge antlers, and it just turned and looked at us. So you can imagine I'm there, and this thing is there with the antlers. It was gigantic, and then it just looked away and carried on walking across the roadway. They don't move out your way; you move out theirs. Really, it's a moose thing. Sorry, it must be a thing with moose. I don't know. What's the plural of moose? Mooses, mice, whatever it is.
Mooses,
So-
I think.
It's a gang, isn't it? It's a gang of moose, isn't it?
I don't know.
A gang
It's
of mooses.
something
That's
like
something
that.
I've come across. I don't know.
I think it's
There's something for
one of
Google.
those questions
Look
that
that
came
one
up before, and it's a gang of moose or something like that. They're all wearing
Yeah.
leather jackets and clicking their fingers and all that. So
I think you're thinking of something else there. The West
no,
Moose story.
seriously, I think it's a gang of moose. That's what it is.
That'll be some musical that you went to see.
Do you know what a pantograph is? A pantograph
Yes.
is that thing on top of an electric train that collects the current from the overhead cables and moves up and down as the train goes in.
It's also a drawing instrument, isn't it, for copying?
Yeah, well, it's that thing on top of the train
Pantograph.
that makes contact with the overhead cables. And a friend of mine was telling me, a friend of
That's
his
right.
that was working in Germany as a train driver, and there was this massive stag stopped in front of the train to stop the train. It was on the tracks, and he had to ring in and report it, and he couldn't remember the German for it. And in the end, he said, "I know. Tell the boss, it's an animal with its pantograph fully extended."
That'd be good German, because Germans are very descriptive in their wording. I always remember correct me if I'm wrong on this, Pete, it's been a long time. A cup is ein Tasse,
Ein Tasse.
and a saucer is ein Untertasse,
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
undercup.
which is an undercup,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is very descriptive and very clear. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to some astronomy. So we're talking about the youth camp.
Yeah.
And I know Simon put his hand up and Kath put her hand up. You've both heard of this. Are you involved in any way via STEM? Because I know you do STEM work as well. So where have you?
It's just you see on the
I've
rounds.
missed this.
So on IAU documentation, lots of STEM stuff coming around. Would you like to be a candidate?
Yeah.
Here's the bump, and we pass it round to schools and things when it comes along. So hopefully some people do take it up. But yeah, we really recommend it. But unfortunately, I'm slightly too old for myself. But
Yeah.
very
Well, you
keen
could
to-
probably get
wants
away
to
with it with
play.
the Peter Pan looks there, you know.
I'll give you some of
Yeah.
my youth cream, you know, because I've had to buy it in batches lately, haven't I?
Well, Amazon's amazing, and other suppliers are
Well,
available.
it's
Yes.
the reason why we promote it so much and try and get people to get involved. Although I don't think we've had too much success, but one day perhaps, is that actually when you go to an astronomy club, you're full of you're with old people, and for kids and teenagers, it's not great to be in that audience. It's a lot better when you get to university, but here's an opportunity before university to actually go actually meet like-minded people who really have a passion and a buzz for astronomy, and you can't. It's really quite hard to get that elsewhere. So that's why we really recommend it.
Yeah. But you, Kath, what's your what have you heard from, or how did you come across this?
I only know of it because a friend of mine's child went on it.
Oh,
So
right.
child, teenager, you know, I think he was 19. That's the only reason I know about it. I didn't know about it until then.
Did they
This
come
is,
back with a good report, I hope?
Yes, yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah, really did. Yeah,
Good.
and went
That's
on.
something I have to look out for, and obviously promote on all the outreach that we do, because between us all, we're involved in outreach under normal circumstances, and it's something else we can mention too. We get a lot of the 17, 18-year-old group before they're going off to the universities and colleges or whatever, whichever, and something maybe that they be involved with.
Well, it's certainly something
Yeah,
that
definitely.
I'll mention on Monday, because we're doing it's called the STEAM Day.
That's right, yeah.
The stupid thing is we've had people contact us to ask if it's about trains, but it's about, it's a STEM day, which includes the arts.
Yeah.
So Professor Helen Mason's running it, and it's to do with bringing the arts into space and astronomy. So I've got, well, Dave and myself have got a session. Dave doesn't know it yet, but we've got a session about 9:30. We've got to do half an hour of what's on in the night sky, but we will include this in it because it's aimed at schools, it's aimed at youngsters. So we'll include a little chat about this on Monday. But if
Awesome.
if Nikki, if you want to join it, I'll send you the details and you can come in and say your thing yourself if you so wish.
Oh yeah, please do.
Well, this is on all day, isn't it, Pete? It's
on all day, so I'll send you the details, and then we'll slot. You know, if you join in at some point, we'll see that you're online, and then we'll slot you in just to say a little bit about the youth camp, because I think it's going to be aimed at the right. That's going to be aimed at the right audience, and we're going from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. So it's a long day. I can't move from this chair for 12 hours. Unfortunately, because Helen decided not to have a break anywhere. Everybody else can do their bit and go, can't they? But on me, I'm just going to stay running it. But yeah, so yeah, I'll send you the Zoom link, because the participants are going on Zoom, but everybody else will be watching on YouTube.
Brilliant, thank you.
You can join in, so if you so wish. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go to another track, and I want to thank Nikki for joining us here on Astro Radio tonight. It's been great having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. You're always welcome.
Thank you, Nikki.
Come and see us again anytime. Drop in.
I'll go over to the track, and we're going to play a track for you. It's called The Verve and the Drugs. They don't work.
Can I ask Nikki something, Nikki?
Well, Michael.
Yeah.
The United Arab Emirates probe. What was the aims and what are the aims and objectives?
And Andy, I think, and Simon and Daz may have info on this. What about you, Andy?
It depends whether you're talking about. Actually, it depends whether you're talking about the objectives on Earth or the objectives on Mars, because there are two answers to this question.
We'll answer them both.
Right. Okay. Well, let's deal with the objectives on Earth. The United Arab Emirates started this project about 7 years ago as an attempt to create a renaissance in Arabic science, specifically space science, which they see as a way of generating income when the oil reserves run out, basically. And it's a collaboration between 7 Arabic nations, and they've got more projects in the pipeline, and it's generated this enormous interest in the Middle East. The facts and figures about the project are quite stunning. 30% of the people working on the HOPE mission are women, which is, you know, quite unusual, obviously, in an Arab country. The average age of the people on the team who put HOPE in orbit around Mars is only 27, so they're all really, really young people. And it's trying to inspire young people in the Middle East to get into science, obviously. So it's a bit of a landmark mission, not just for the UAE, but for the whole of the Middle East. The mission objectives is to study the Martian atmosphere in depth, because we've been studying Mars in various ways since the 60s with Mariner. But we still know very little about how the Martian atmosphere actually works. And what HOPE is going to do is basically do cross sections through the Martian atmosphere, look at the layers in it, how they fit together, how they interact. And this is going to be the first time that we're going to get to know the Martian atmosphere in depth. Now, this is going to be crucially important to future colonists of Mars, especially when you look at things like the Martian dust storms, which are extremely dangerous, not because they're just, you know, towers of clouds, you know, going right up into the atmosphere, but Martian dust clouds are actually highly toxic because they contain chlorates. And also, it's been discovered fairly recently, they are electrostatically charged and may even generate their own lightning. So this is very, very dangerous for future colonists, for them personally, and of course, for every bit of electrical equipment, if there's lightning about. So a study of the Martian atmosphere is well overdue. So that's the aim of the HOPE mission. It's going to last 2 Earth years and maybe extended after that if all goes well. But many congratulations to the UAE for doing this stunning achievement. I think they deserve a big round of applause for that. So there you are. That's the HOPE mission in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah.
Round of applause for UAE.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
good
good
job.
old UAE.
Yeah, well done, UAE.
Did you see their celebration? The way they lit up the Burj Khalifa,
Wasn't it
the highest
amazing?
building,
Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing?
top to bottom.
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how to celebrate success, isn't it?
It
And
is,
that,
yeah.
that animation they were projecting was so smooth. On that scale, it was stunning. Absolutely stunning. Yeah.
And the Chinese orbiter, what is the aims and objectives of the Chinese orbiter? I'll just ask Nikki, what are your thoughts on these Mars projects? Do you follow this sort of thing, or is it something that doesn't interest you?
I sort of follow casually. I think it's really cool that other countries are getting the foot in the door with this kind of thing. It's really cool to see. But I don't know the specifics of the missions at the moment now.
No, because we did it. We had a big thing on here when the phosphine was discovered in the Venusian atmosphere. There was big. And of course, when they said that phosphine can only come from penguins' poo on the Earth, you can imagine where this subject went and some of the backdrops we were having, and Dave. So I mean, I think it's great that other nations are getting involved, and of course they're all taking a slightly different approach to what they're looking for. So it does.
Absolutely.
It's very, very interesting. But we'll bring Andy, because Andy's our resident space probe expert. We'll bring him back in, being as he's muted himself again. Simon, that's brilliant. Simon's got the old tower there being lit up in United Arab Emirates behind himself. Yeah. So Andy, the Chinese orbiter and lander, what are the aims and objectives of the Chinese mission?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I haven't a clue.
I've just bigged him up. And he's
no.
Back down.
The Chinese have not really published the aims of the mission in detail. We don't actually know a lot because the Chinese are actually quite secretive about their missions. We don't even know where it's going to land. The Chinese are telling us that they actually haven't decided themselves yet. They're going to do a few orbits and then work out the best place to land. Which seems a bit unlikely to me. Not the way I would plan a space mission. I'd like to know where it's going. But I think generally, because it's their first time putting something on the surface, I think it's a technology tester more than anything. I don't know that it has any specific scientific objectives other than just to wander around and have a look. Other than that, there's not much detail, to be honest, Pete.
Okay.
I may be wrong. If somebody points me to a website where it's listed in detail, but I haven't managed to find much information about it.
Well, Daz has got his hand up, so I think he's coming in with something.
It is correct that what Andy says, it is a bit cloak and dagger, but it's basically a sample analysing and basically analysing rocks, soil, and data like that. But also the actual Taiwen 1 actually means question to heaven, questions to heaven. So
I thought it was Tianwen. I've heard it pronounced Tianwen.
Well, sorry, my pronunciation's wrong.
Daz,
Shame
on you, Daz.
I'm phonetic spelling. I'm phonetic spelling.
Kath, you got to remember, Daz talks like a pirate.
Sorry.
I'll
put my library head away. I'll stop it.
Taiwen 1, it will. And it means questions to heaven. Then it's to retrieve rock samples and analyse them, and the likes of that. Basically, what most of the other ones are going to be doing, or Perseverance or Percy to his friends.
It's a sort of a general purpose mission, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also got an orbiter and a robot that will be trundling around, but where they're going to land it, because they're going to use the orbiter to decide where they're going to actually finally drop the rover, and then they'll maybe we'll find out what they're up to then. But because I mean, just on a different vein, when they've done their retrieval missions from the moon and from the asteroid that they did, they've sent them off again. Now they've sent off the asteroid mission to another asteroid, but I don't think it's actually a collection mission. They'll just be using the other instruments they've got on there to measure the gases and things like that, and to determine what they're made of. But they've sent their second one, the moon one, off to somewhere that nobody knows why. So they're, they could be up to something there. They think they're sending it out to a Lagrange point, and it could be to try and discover hidden asteroids and things like that that are circling the Earth just beyond the Lagrange points. But they're not very forthcoming as to what they're doing with that one. So, but that's just, the Chinese.
They're going to find something undiscovered that Pete was asked about.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to photograph something undiscovered.
I was at Nikki. I was asked a question today. Somebody sent me an email and said, "Could you point one of the 2-meter telescopes at some of the undiscovered objects?" I can see a flaw in that somewhere. Yeah. I've got Nikki, I've got a question for you from Tien in Japan. He's just outside of Tokyo. And he said, will you be getting data for your research from the James Webb Telescope when it's launched?
Not for my current research project, no.
No.
I have a bit of a joke going with some of my friends about which will finish first, or which will happen first. I submit my thesis, James Webb launches, or the M6 roadworks finish.
I definitely not the M6 roadworks. Definitely not.
That's ongoing.
Yeah. The M5 roadworks are bad enough.
Are they still going then, those roadworks? They can't still be going, surely.
No. Not the M5 ones.
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we're on to the third probe, aren't we now?
Yeah, Perseverance. Well, Perseverance has escaped the M6 roadworks and it's on the way to Mars, and it lands next Thursday. Is there anything special about this landing? Is there anything special about the mechanism for the landing?
Oh,
yes. Well, the
exciting one.
The mechanism is the sky crane system that they used so successfully with the Curiosity rover in 2012. They did it once. Everybody said it wouldn't work. I actually had a £10 bet with my brother-in-law that it would work. He said it wouldn't. He's an engineer, and he said, "No, that'll never work. It's crazy. It's lunacy." He said, "Lunacy," and I said, no need to repeat the word lunacy. I understood the first time. So the great thing about this, they have got 4K video cameras on the sky crane. Some pointing downwards at the rover, so we will see in 4K the rover descending, and some pointing upwards at the parachute. So that would be really, really exciting. The first time that we've had not just video, but 4K video to boot from Mars. And it's also got microphones, so we will actually hear the Martian atmosphere as it's descending. So that's on the 18th. So, stay tuned, folks. It's going to be one hell of a ride.
Well, I've got to work out some technology how we can do the radio but broadcast the video at the same time and talk about it as it's happening. So we'll work on that. And
does anyone know what time it is?
9 p.m. right in the middle of the show.
8:38.
Can we bring Simon in, because Simon came up with a great idea?
Yeah, come on, Simon.
I don't have great ideas.
Simon,
you do. Well, now and then you do. Come on.
8:38 is when it starts atmospheric entry.
Yeah. So we will be on air then. So if we can display the video onto our YouTube Astro TV channel at the same time.
7 minutes of terror.
Yes.
Can we make this, as Simon suggested, can we make it a Mars special for that evening?
That's a good idea.
Well, it is going to be.
Okay, Simon, get your homework ready. Do your homework, Simon.
It's going to be a Mars special. We're talking about a Mars landing and showing it. We're not going to be talking about the M6 roadworks on that night.
I bet we will. I bet
you will. It's about you.
I need to get a Mars cushion.
Penguins.
Yeah.
We all need to have Mars backgrounds that night, folks.
Oh, well, can somebody tell me? Because as you all notice, it's my bedroom that's a constant back. I can never get a background on Zoom, so somebody's going to have to talk me through that.
Okay.
Is that your bedroom?
We sort of Mars one.
It's my bedroom.
Can we see the
Is
bed?
It's right behind. What do you think that is? That's not bed.
Let's get this back to Mars. Come on. Right. So
We've
we've all got to do our homework.
Sorry,
We've all got
Nikki,
to do
just
our
ignore
homework.
them.
Kath, this is the homework for next week. Between now and next week, you've got to go to the NASA website, and you'll get a 63-page document on everything about the Perseverance mission. So www.jpl.nasa.gov/news, and from there you'll find the press kit. Look for press kit, and it'll give you all the information about this mission that you could ever dream of wanting to know.
Just a quick one. Who's got their name on Percy?
I have. My daughter is absolutely thrilled about this.
Yeah.
She's 10.
It's just something I never ever do, and all these missions where you can send your name off. No, I'm just not into that at all.
Why not?
I don't want the aliens knowing where I am.
I have got my name. I have got my name on the surface of Titan.
Listen, I'm not getting into conspiracies, Andy. If the taxman finds out where you live, and he will do from that mission, he'll track you down to Spain. With a drone spinning over your house.
I've just replied to Stefan from Russia, from Moscow. He sent Nikki a question. He said, I understood the first two bits about you saying what's your thesis or the James Webb Telescope. He says, but I cannot understand why you would bring the butterfly cluster into this. And I was sitting there thinking, what's he on about? And I've just realized it's Messier 6, M6.
The motorway.
Let's see him.
So he didn't realize we were talking about a motorway. He thought we were talking about a Messier object.
Stefan, it was nice knowing you.
Well, I've got M50 on my doorstep. I have M57, I've got the M62, and easy access to the M6.
He just sent a message back. He said he's laughing. He just sent a laughing message back, and he says, "Good luck from Moscow with your thesis."
Yeah, well, we're not far from we're not far from the M42.
No, you would be
nice.
I hope the doc's coming in. The Dr. Julian Onions.
He's just coming into the room. Can we just give him a moment? He'll be with us.
Yeah, Dr. Julian.
Nikki, have you met Julian before? Dr. Julian Onions?
Don't think I have.
He does galaxy research at Nottingham University. He's a doctor. I think he's a lecturer there. But he also is mad on cake.
Yeah.
And actually, we've got a jingle on Astro Radio. It's got this is Dr. Julian Onions, and I'm listening to Astro Radio while eating cake.
He's got a wife called Victoria Sponge.
He seems to. His system seems to be having a problem joining for some reason.
Oh dear.
His hands full of cake.
Yeah, that's what it is again.
Yeah,
computer's full of cake.
Yeah, the crumbs of the keyboard.
If you're out there, Julian, please try again.
We're
all sitting waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one, the landing of Perseverance. But one of the missions I'd love to see happen again, and I'd love to see a mission go back to Titan. We had John Zarnecki at Solar Sphere talking about it, and I don't know. I just got this feeling that if there's any discoveries to be made, they're going to be made at Titan.
Well, I'd like to see better images of the lakes.
I think we need to go to Enceladus first.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah.
And Europa, but we're going to Europa twice. Well, we're not. I'm not.
Well,
I have to stay here. They did ask me, but I was
a Clipper. It's got a ride.
So, I mean, there were two missions going to Jupiter's moons. One's arriving, a European one and an American one, arriving in 2029.
Yeah.
But I understand the Clipper has now been dropped from the SLS.
I think the Clippers got rid of the SLS.
Oh, so the Clippers got rid of the SLS.
Yeah. Well, they introduced this stupid rule, didn't they? That it had to fly on the SLS, and NASA weren't allowed to consider another launch provider. And it just so happened that the woman who put forward the legislation and pushed it through actually happens to be a senator in the state where they make the SLS. So
Yeah, right.
I wonder
That's-
why.
Yeah.
You should think.
Shouldn't they declare any interest?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
It's America. You don't declare any.
Clipper can
point out
now
that-
have a commercial launch, so it can go
Yeah.
onto Falcon. It can do a heavy.
Falcon
Delta.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Well,
there's
um,
known launches, so it can go.
Yeah.
What moons is Juno going to be looking at? And Jupiter.
What? Sorry.
Juno's been extended, hasn't it? And that's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
visiting.
Yes,
three
that
moons.
is going to look at Callisto, Io, and Europa. No, sorry, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. I think. Yeah, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. The first flyby is of Ganymede in September this year, and Europa is about the same time next year, I think, if I remember rightly. Exciting
good, yeah.
times, because we never expected to go back to the moons of Jupiter so quickly.
No,
And
it's
Juno's
really
going to
good.
do it for us. Bless its little heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
good.
exciting.
Yeah,
It is, isn't it? I
It's
can't,
good that
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting.
it's
Yeah.
good that Juno's been extended because
There we go. We got
it
Julian.
just wasn't long enough, was it? The mission wasn't long enough, really.
No,
No.
but you know why this was.
Julian's here.
Hey.
Hi, Julian.
Hi,
Hello,
Hi,
Julian.
Julian.
Julian, I think the door was sticking a little bit there. You
Took
had
me
to
4
put- you had
attempts
to
to get
give it
in.
a jiggle as you open the door, you know.
I thought
Ju-
you just
Julian?
thrown me out.
Julian, can we just introduce you to Nikki? Nikki's from Keele University, she's third year
right, Nikki.
PhD student doing
Hello.
research on eclipsing binaries.
Oh, far too close for me.
It's got to be far away.
It's going to be a galaxy far, far away.
I don't get out of bed for less than a megaparsec.
It's just- oh, the old jokes.
Or a cake.
Oh, dear.
Or cake.
Or a cake.
Cake will do. Yeah.
Sorry, Julian, could resist that one.
So, Julian, we've been chatting about these Mars missions. Are you excited about the Perseverance Mars mission?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Planning to watch it. 7 Minutes of Terror next Thursday.
Well, what
Yeah.
we're gonna hopefully do, we'll broadcast it on the Astro Radio YouTube channel, and then have the chat and talk about it on Astro Radio as it happens, because it happens right in the middle of the show. So hopefully we'll have something going on. Yeah, but it's going to be an interesting one, definitely.
Right. I might try and drop in. We've got our own society event.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fancy.
I think-
Julian. It's fancy.
Most societies and what have you have got something going on that night, so we'll probably be talking to ourselves, but
I'm going to hop
We-
from.
We'll be on the virtual Astro Club.
Yeah.
Next week.
I'm planning to hop from one to another.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
It'll be
what
like
we-
a big party.
I'll have a word with Dave, and what we could do is combine the two at
I
our
was going to ask that. Yeah.
broadcast the virtual Astro Club. So if everybody goes into the virtual Astro Club, and then I broadcast it on the radio, so we got we'll do that.
Wow.
I'm sure Dave will be up for that.
Yeah.
Work out the switches, please. Get that tested. Make sure they all work.
I've got all the mixer. Yeah, looking around the studio, this is what's going on down here. All the stuff.
Yeah.
Pete, it's actually a virtual Astro Club and Go Space Watch joint effort next week.
So yeah.
So and we put the thing put it all out on Eventbrite, and we've got 91 sign-ups for it. So this should be a good one. That one.
Yeah, well, all I do is I'll join it, put it onto the Zoom on here so I can see it, and then I'll just put the link so it goes out as audio. If that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the link then. Yeah, we'll also get the link sorted out for you. Yeah.
Okay, doke.
Will it limit the amount of people that can be involved?
Is it a chargeable event then, Michael?
No, it's not chargeable.
Well, what we can do if Dave gets to his capacity, or you get to your capacity, then they can join the Zoom here.
That's right.
As well, and all be part of it. So
that's what I was wondering whether you could do that. Yeah. Because I've asked Dave to control it, even though I put the ticket advert out.
Yeah.
I've asked Dave to control it, so I can talk to Dave about I'll get the link as well.
Yeah, I'll just run that side of it, and then just run the radio side of it.
Can I just check something though? Because JPL have got to make sure that 75 explosive charges and sequence go off correctly, and we've got a pretty good chance that's going to happen. But can we organise this? Because there's 2 or 3 things that got to work.
What I'm concerned about, Simon, this is a collaboration. Now, with science, can scientists collaborate around the world?
Well,
With all the listeners that we have, all the listeners that Dave has,
Of course
Michael has.
Well, we're gonna have at least 250,000 audio listeners. We've got 208,000 audio listeners at the moment tonight.
I'm concerned that we're going to break the internet. We've got to be very careful. The internet is very, very fragile. It's in a little box. I've seen
I'll
it. IT departments have got
a
it.
little red light.
Yeah,
that's a little red light flashing.
I'll get
Roger
Dave.
and Julian have already signed up for it anyway, so
Yeah. I'll get Dave to ring me tomorrow, and I can chat to him about the logistics and the technical side of it. But coming back to that, now we've discussed what we're doing. Let's discuss the actual landing. What do you reckon, Julian?
I'm just watching Mr. Blofeld. Michael Blofeld with his cat there. Oh, Mr. Bond. Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Oh, I've got one on my shoulder at the moment as well.
Yeah.
I've been expecting.
You're all mad on cats, you lot.
But this one's called Apollo.
Go on, Pete. Let's get this back to some astronomy. Come on.
I was just going to ask Julian, what sort of things have you been up to recently, Julian? Have you been astronomical things, that is, not cake baking?
Nothing very exciting. Marking student projects.
Oh. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, were you aware of the International Astronomical Youth Camp?
Don't think I am. No.
I know you know.
This needs to be publicised much
Nikki,
more, I think.
It's your platform again. Tell him about it.
Nikki, go.
Okay, so the International Astronomical Youth Camp, or IAAYC for short, it's a 3-week-long summer camp that's aimed at 16 to 25-year-olds. And during the camp, they work in small groups, so pairs or threes, on independent research projects on a huge number of topics, mostly astronomy focused. But we've also had hardware projects, rocketry, all sorts. And they make friends from all around the world. And at night get to enjoy some of the darkest skies in Europe and get to play around with taking astrophotos for the first time, looking through telescopes. And it's held throughout Europe. So we've had camps in Germany, Austria, Spain, and the UK in the last 5 or so years.
Wow, sounds excellent.
But
I think this needs more publicity.
It's something you could, you mention to your students, that's out there. So it sounds very, very interesting. But it can't, count yourself out because you're over 25. I understand anyway.
How dare you?
Somebody mentioned it to me at some point.
It's an age thing.
But I think it's something we need to publicise more. So Nikki, is there a website that people can go to? Is there a website you can remember off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's just iayc.org.
There we go.
So folks, it's straightforward.
Yeah. So that's a good one to go to. So so we got that. I've got a question in from, where is it? I've got a load of questions in at the moment, actually. I'm just trying to find one for the panel.
While you do that, Nikki, do you know Heidi Thiemann? I think it is.
I follow her on Twitter, but I haven't met her in person.
I think she's at the Open University at the moment must be finishing up a PhD by now. She works on variable stars, I think it is.
Yeah.
She gave a very good talk a couple of weeks ago. We got her coming to give a seminar.
Oh, lovely.
Coming, yeah.
Paths will cross at some point.
Zooming.
Or we'll zoom across even.
Or teaming or go
teaming,
something
I'm
or other.
afraid, yes.
Yeah, all the views are available.
Yeah. Dave, you can say what you like. It's not the BBC.
I don't care. No, I've got to follow protocol. If I accidentally go on the BBC and then follow my heart and say something wrong, then
you'll be on Woman's Hour.
It's best stick to the same guideline all the way through. Be polite.
I had
be
one
professional.
Yesterday. My car broke down yesterday and all that jazz, and I just got back, and just as I got in, I had sausages. You've got to have something for dinner. Sausages. And I just got a sausage in my mouth, and Paul said from the BBC, said, "Pete, you're on in 3 minutes." So I went on, made a load of jokes about sausages, and did actually get round to talking about the Mars landings and what have you. But most of it was about sausages. I couldn't, and of course, I made the mistake of saying what brand of sausages and all the rest. And other brands of sausages are available.
See, now if you followed Davy Galvin's guidelines, you wouldn't have that wouldn't have happened, and you wouldn't get a slap on the wrist from Mr. BBC.
Well, I just mentioned other sausages. I did walls.
Well, the sausages are available.
But,
okay. So as for Mars missions, there are other chocolate bar available.
The question that has come in from Jill in Dublin, and she said there's a lot of focus on Mars at the moment. She says, "What about the Moon? Are there any planned missions to the Moon over the next few years?"
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes, there are.
In fact, quite a few.
Gateway. Gateway's just booked the Falcon Heavy to take it up. So the lift is confirmed. So you just got to finish the hardware, and then Elon can put it up there.
And there's some probes going and landers going to the Moon as well, precursor missions for Artemis as well.
Any to the fast?
There's lots of commercial missions going. I think I've mentioned before Peregrine, which is going to be taking up several rovers that can or just deploy individually around where it lands and all that. They're also taking, I think we've had this before, cremated remains, or cremains as the Yanks like to call them, to deposit on the Moon. And I think also some DNA of Arthur C. Clarke's being taken up as well. But there's lots of commercial missions that will be going up. And then, of course, we're all looking forward, hopefully, towards the Moon landings in a couple of years' time.
One of the commercial companies is Firefly of Texas. They're building landers to go to the Moon by 2023.
And NASA also sending a CubeSat, rather interestingly, to test out the orbit of the Gateway, because the Gateway is going to go in a bit of a strange orbit. It has a weird name, that type of orbit, that I can never remember. But but they're sending a CubeSat to actually literally go around the orbit and make sure that it's stable and that it's everything they need. So that's interesting.
A very weird orbit.
Okay.
What about these crazy ideas of putting 5G on the Moon? Certainly on the far side of the Moon.
Well, I'd go there if there was Wi-Fi.
Well, but if you've got a radio telescope, you mightn't be happy about that.
It's that famous.
We talk about building a radio telescope on the other side.
Yeah, it's that famous provider of Pete's phone. They've got the contract to build. I think it was 4G actually at the time, but now it probably will be 5G. I think, of course, it's upset the radio telescope guys and stuff like that. So it's rained on their parade. But it's the idea of the Moon would be shielding everything.
Yeah, but Nokia have since denied that. I think they said it was a made-up press story. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I read. So it wouldn't surprise me, because it does seem a bit of putting the cart before the horse. We're already talking about Nokia putting a 5G network on the Moon.
Yeah. Have you seen their phones?
Well, I've seen Pete. You'd need more than 5G to get that to work, I tell you.
Well, Peter has the Flintstone version, the Flintstone model, doesn't he? Yeah.
I don't need all these apps and all that. Message.
We've got a message, Peter. Go ahead.
Yeah, a message from John in New Mexico, and it's he heard me mention that when Julian was trying to get into the chat, that he deals in galaxies and the rest of it. His question is, he's read somewhere. He's read somewhere that as you know, us and the Andromeda Galaxy, Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy coming closer together. He said he read somewhere that we are already interacting between the two galaxies. There is some form of interaction already. Right. Is this true, Julian?
Gravitationally. So yes.
So there is something. He was reading there's some form of matter.
Isn't it the halos that they were talking about?
The halos are rubbing each other. Yeah.
See, he's brought that in dark matter now. What he's saying is there's matter that we don't know what it is, but it's interacting.
That's the stuff.
It's the stuff. It's that stuff. No, it's an interesting one because you know, I'm surrounded by Andromeda galaxies in me, and you've got one behind you, I believe. That I took.
This is not their dark matter halos rubbing. This is a tenuous halo of gas that surrounds galaxies, and they've already started to rub up against each other, even though we're a few billion years away from the actual merger.
Interesting one, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, aren't we going to merge first with the LMC, the Large Magellanic Cloud?
The other way around. We're bigger. We win.
We're going to swallow
Is
it.
there an order?
Well,
Is this
yeah.
this?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you know what I mean.
You know,
I know what you mean, Daz. I'm with you.
Daz, don't you mean the Milky Way is going to tear the LMC apart limb from limb?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
That's the violent universe, Andy.
I mean, going back to Gaia, I don't know if you saw the image of the LMC and the SMC, the Large and Small Magellanic Clouds. With Gaia, that's been able to map all the stars that's in the star bridge, where they're interacting with each other, and where they thought there was possibly hundreds of stars, there's absolutely millions in this star bridge, and they seem to be swooping down and wrapping around the bottom side of the LMC. It was a fantastic image, it really was.
Oh, can you send me that, Daz?
You said star bridge and not the stair bridge, didn't you?
That's not Star Bridge, Star Bridge. It's my accent, sorry.
Starbridge. Starbridge between the LMC and the
Starbridge.
So, Peter, we had a question. We had a question coming in. When galaxies interact, as in a collision, do the stars smash into each other?
No.
Probably not.
So, is that a straight answer? No.
Pretty much.
So would they rip themselves apart, or?
I mean, like everything else, they're mostly air. They're gaps. It's like with atoms and all that. Most of an atom is air. It's gaps around there. So things are going to go past each other. They're going to interact gravitationally, but
it will cause stars to form.
Oh yes,
I was just going to say,
star formation as it happens.
Yeah, it will excite all the gas and get it all moving around, and then we'll get massive star formations going on, and it'll be something to see. But
we'll have a lot
unfortunately, I'm washing my hair that day.
What about Omega Centauri? I mean, this was a question that was sent in actually a few weeks ago. You've got M13 and other globular clusters, which are we understand what a globular cluster is, but they said, is Omega Centauri something different? Is that a remnant of galactic core?
It's thought, yeah, they think it's sufficiently different that it might well be an ultra compact dwarf galaxy rather than a globular cluster.
Yeah, because
I think the jury is still somewhat out on it.
Yeah, well, we'll probably find out it sometime in the future, because that's where we sent the Arecibo message. So we're just waiting for a reply. The only thing is where we sent it from is no longer exists, Arecibo, unfortunately. So
we'll pick it up here at Astro Radio. Don't worry.
Yeah. So we'll be getting a message back, and they'll be able to let us know. But unfortunately, it's only about a tenth of its way there now at the moment. So we've still got a long time to wait.
And talking of Centauri, Proxima Centauri, the closest star to us, I don't know whether you saw this, that they think they've discovered another exoplanet around Proxima Centauri, about the size of Neptune. But they're not being definite about that. They say it's only a pixel, and it could be equipment noise. But they're sort of cautiously optimistic that it's yet another star, another planet in that system, the size of Neptune. So that's really interesting as well.
Exciting, yeah.
Was there any comeback ever? I mean, I've not followed that one up. I did it on the BBC about quite a while ago. Tabby's star. Was there any comeback on that one?
There was something just recently that I read that it's still playing up light-wise, and there's because that's what they thought it was. It was some sort of Dyson sphere or something, wasn't it?
Daz, can I just say other vacuum cleaners are available? Very much. Sorry, Helen and Nikki. Sorry.
Okay, then.
It's the rule, Pete. Keep on that guideline.
Yeah. So they thought it was some sort of Dyson sphere because of the light curves were all over the place. And they think it's done it again, and it seems to be doing it on a regular-ish basis, but again, it's all speculation and things like that. So yes, they are still looking at it. They are still checking it, but it's something that we're not sure.
We'll tell you what, Daz. We've just covered the science there, Andy, of Dyson sphere. For let's say a friend of mine who may have asked, what exactly is a Dyson sphere?
A Dyson sphere
To me, it's science fiction.
Yes, I mean it's a hyper invented as an
Julian,
idea by the
come back in a minute.
The famous physicist Freeman Dyson put this forward decades ago as a possible thing of the far future, that really advanced civilizations, and we're talking thousands of years ahead of us. The civilizations will grow so big that they need enormous energy supplies, and the only place they can get that is from their star. So they would construct an artificial sphere around the star to capture the energy from the star and harness it to power their civilizations. But it's an interesting idea, but it's who knows?
I'm trying to think of the practical side of building that thing. It's actually it's just mind-bogglingly big, isn't it? It's just, as the Hitchhiker's Guide would say, mind-bogglingly big.
Yeah,
and there was a Star Trek episode, wasn't it, where they got stuck in a Dyson sphere?
Yeah, but there was also a Star Trek episode full of stupid furry animals, so I don't give that any credit.
Andy, I've got to agree with you. The trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, absolutely.
The trouble with Tribbles is whoever written that script. That's the trouble.
Well, they were on acid at the time, obviously.
Yeah, but a lot of fans enjoyed that episode for some reason. But
yeah, but they're stupid.
Not mine. Everyone's to their own. Some good episodes in Star Trek. I'm not going to knock it.
I like the trouble with Tribbles, and I like the one when they went to Deep Space Nine. We're back in time to the troubles with Tribbles back in time.
I love that one as well.
See, Nikki, see how we just drifted off from the astronomy back into sci-fi.
Are you into sci-fi, Nikki?
Yeah, I am.
What sort of things do you like?
What's your favourite?
Who's your favourite author?
What's my favourite? So I recently read a book by Becky Chambers called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And it's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't put it down. And if I could give it like 6 out of 5 stars, I would.
Excellent.
What's the science like in that? Is it good science or a little bit of art involved?
There's a little bit of art, but they don't do anything that's offensively wrong, if you know what I mean. Like they know where they can sort of push it. They know where they stick to the science fact.
He did get tidally locked moons wrong, I have to say.
What was that? Say that again, Julie. A little bit quiet there.
Oh, there's a bit in it where they landed on a tidally locked moon, which she said always faced the sun.
Right.
That is
right.
Right. Okay.
I sent her a tweet about it, but I didn't get it.
Did she reply?
What a surprise.
Angry onions.
No, that's very polite.
Angry from Cakesville.
So, Nikki, what's your favourite sci-fi series? Your television series.
How can I choose?
I know.
Battlestar Galactica was good.
No,
not the original 70s or 80s.
The Expanse.
The newer one is really
the later
good.
2000s.
The what?
Oh, Battlestar Galactica, the later version, absolutely stunning.
Oh, I like the original.
Have you read this?
No, I like the original version. What's he reading now?
not read
Hamilton, Pandora's Star. Peter F. Hamilton, Pandora's Star.
He lives in Rutland. He's really good.
Yeah.
Writes very, very big
cool.
books.
I like the original one as well.
Thank you. Who said that?
Michael, me.
Well done. I think I particularly liked it because I fancied Apollo. I'm just going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
He was rather, but I did enjoy it. Me and my dad.
I never got into the remake anyway. So
no, I haven't seen it.
Michael, forget the original series. Watch the remake. I'm not going to get into anything about it. The original was silly. It was tongue in cheek. It's if you can compare the original Batman, Bruce Wayne, Adam West. Batman was tongue in cheek all the way through. It was meant to be. The original Battlestar Galactica is on that the modern version is like your modern Batman's. It's as if it's
realistic.
if you've never watched it,
but Lord
if you do not, you got to stick it out to episode 2, 3.
I think my I think
Sorry.
with me, it's Star Trek, and it has to be the Next Generation.
Yes.
I liked Original Kirk.
yeah.
Oh,
Go
John
for that.
Picard.
I'd still go back to the original though, and Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
I'd still
Well, what
go.
about Enterprise?
No.
No.
No, I'm good.
No.
Hang on, let's have
No.
thumbs up or thumbs down.
There is a right answer.
I've got thumbs down, thumbs down.
Okay.
Andy's thumbs down. Oh my goodness, oh dear.
You're talking about that then.
Well, what it is, the viewing figures went down below 2.4 million, so therefore they pulled the plug on it.
Do you know why?
It was just getting no. Never mind, it's rubbish. I know what you're going to say, Mr. Williamson.
But,
It was good. It was
wasn't
just getting
believable.
good, and then they pulled the plug on it. It was.
Dave, you do realise
Star Trek's believable.
Yeah.
Of course, it was, Pete. Let's
It
be
wouldn't
real.
you
take
do
a dog on
realise
your
trashing
spaceship.
trashing all these shows, people are self-harming. So come
Well,
on.
I'm getting messages in from some of my friends tonight about different things that are going on, and let me just
Go
pull up
on.
my Twitter feed. Can't believe they're being mean about tribbles. That's coming from my lovely friend Joanna.
Tribble should be. Don't feed
who's
a
a
tribble
member
after
of
midnight.
Wolverhampton.
Stick them in a microwave oven instead. That's my answer.
She's going to go wild. She is. And
You're gonna get
also,
hate mail.
Pete, apparently, Pete, you sound like Adrian Childs, apparently.
That could be good.
Apparently.
He is a West Brom supporter, just like me.
Well, I did say that you're a fellow Black Country guy, so yeah, I'm getting all sorts of interesting things.
Oh, we've
coming
been,
in.
We are.
Cass, do you want to run the place?
Yes, I'll just take over.
But
I'll
when
just
you
take
think
over.
about the worst, I
Kath,
think
any more complaints?
yeah.
No, it's not complaints, it's comments. No, they're enjoying the show. It's just quite amusing, these comments that are coming into what we're talking about.
Well, I think the Voyager episodes, Janeway really wound me up. She's a bit of a whiner.
Well,
Janeway.
She sounds like Katharine Hepburn. What can you say?
Yeah, I couldn't stand that woman, honestly.
No, she just winds me up.
So has anybody seen Discovery then?
Yeah, I thought that was rubbish.
Discovery is getting better and better and better. Nikki, what do you think of Discovery?
Yeah, it's if you go in not expecting your traditional Star Trek, you can really enjoy it, and it has absolutely been improving. Like,
and now
the last series was amazing.
I've got a couple of episodes to watch of that one. So
what did you?
Where are you up to, Michael?
9 or 10, I think. I can't remember.
Oh, that's a great ending on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, when they all die at the end, it's terrible. Yeah. They don't really die. They all come back again because there's a parallel universe, and the parallel universe.
What did you reckon on that
everyone's got a
mini-series?
twin, good and bad.
What do you reckon on that mini-series Picard? I thought that was brilliant.
Yes.
I've not seen that.
I've not seen it yet.
Oh, it's brilliant. Really worth
It
Give
watching.
it a thumbs up.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I just get the impression you got too much time on your hands.
I don't get time. I'm not doing this show all the
What
time.
else
I was going to say, we are in lockdown.
There's cake to make. What do you want about?
It's cake to me.
Not in my house.
Let me ask Nikki. Nikki, have you seen The Expanse?
No, but it's on my list. It's very high on my list.
It's the best TV sci-fi ever, and that's no exaggeration. And I've seen them all. It's leagues ahead of any other sci-fi on TV, and the science is more or less absolutely spot on.
Oh, I've got to watch this. I keep getting told.
It's real space travel. It's how space travel in the solar system will be in about 300 years, or as near to it as you can imagine. The only slight criticism for the science is the perennial one, the sound of explosions and gunfire in space. But that's artistic license. You're not going to get away from that.
And those pesky belters.
Honestly, Nikki, watch The Expanse. It's absolutely stunning. You will love it.
That's on Netflix as well,
What's
isn't
it called, Andy? The what?
The Expanse.
The Expanse.
Is that on?
Its first 3 seasons were on HBO, and it got cancelled, and Amazon picked it up.
It's all on Amazon now. If you go on Amazon,
They're all there now.
Did anybody watch Away on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah.
Home and Away.
Yeah.
That's rubbish. That's like Neighbours. We don't watch that.
Other soap operas are available.
Yeah.
Of course. Love Australia. Me.
Pete, the value of your sausages can go up as well as down.
Well, Kareem from Canada just said, I thought you Brits would all be into Doctor Who and nothing else.
Well, there's good Doctor Who and there's bad Doctor Who.
That's a
Unfortunately,
documentary. That's a documentary.
Eccleston didn't last long enough. They didn't renew his contract, and he was probably one of the better actors, proper
He
actors.
was. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Red
did
Dwarf.
like David Tennant though. I did. I
David
liked
Tennant, he
Eccleston.
grew on me. He was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming
Eccleston
towards the
was
end of the program. So,
Mm.
if anyone's got any last moments, any last comments,
something sensible and
something.
astronomical.
Come on, Nikki, give us something sensible. Variable
Please.
stars. We're talking about the different types of variable stars, and
Right.
we can narrow it down to two type: intrinsic, and I'm reading my notes, and extrinsic.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
intrinsic are your
Easy
pulsating
for you to
stars.
say.
Look,
Yeah,
talk
it
about
is
putting
easy to
somebody on
say.
the spot, Dave.
Extrinsic are your eclipsing binaries.
Yeah.
So that's just brought it down to two. And then, of
Indeed.
course, you've got your like Betelgeuse and your Cepheid variables. I think they're the pulsating intrinsic. Algol, which we talked about, the amateur variable, is extrinsic because it's an
Indeed.
eclipsing binary. What else have we got? I call it a cannibalistic vampire type, where one is basically like a parasite, isn't it, feeding off the other, and then it expands, and then and it does it all over again. It's just an ongoing event. Yeah, so
Cataclysmic, Dave.
that's the way. You know quite
Yeah.
well. I was trying to avoid saying that word. I can say variable. I can say cannibalistic. I can say vampire, but I can't say that word. But, hey,
Cataclysmic.
you know, I'm just playing for time now because we just come to the end of the show. It's a wrap, everyone. We're coming to
Thank
the
you,
end.
thank you everybody for joining us here on Astro Radio Reach Out into Space. Hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be back with the STEAM, which is a STEM plus Arts Day on Monday, and then we'll be back with a Mars special on the Thursday. Want to say good night to the panel and thanks, Nikki, for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki.
Right, thank you,
Thank
Nikki.
you.
And we'll leave tonight with Pink Floyd and Something We All Want, High Hopes. Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Good night.
It's a wrap.
Hey!
There we go. That was fun.